All right, so as I was saying, what happened was uh, when I was supposed to take care of my ex because she said that in order for the baby to survive, she needed to be on bed rest because she had a cerclage. And then her daughter was acting up, acting crazy, told me to leave. I put the daughter outside, and then my ex got upset with me. And then, like I said, the next day, my ex wasn't responding to my texts, and she'd been doing that the whole uh, pregnancy. And I had legitimate concern the whole pregnancy because, like, when she like I said, she lied about going to a party. She said she was going to go to the movies with her friends, but she was really going to go to a party. And then afterwards, she got mad at me because all I told her was I was just upset that she lied to me. But then she's mad at me, and then she stopped. And then when I would text her like, "Hey, how's everything going?" she wouldn't respond to my text. And again, this is a sign of immaturity. It shows disrespect if someone's not responding to you. And I had legitimate concern because she had told me she had 3 abortions before. So in my mind, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking she might get an abortion again because she's done it 3 times before. So I was texting her, "Hey, how's the baby? Hey, how's everything going? How's the baby? You're not thinking of getting an abortion, are you?" Because I was concerned. So the same thing happened at this point. She said that I need to take care of her for the baby to survive. She needed to be on bed rest, but she wasn't responding to my text. So that's when I went online and I was telling people what was going on so I could get some help. And then, but so after the abortion, she told me that she would, and also the other thing I went to her baby dad to tell the baby dad, after she got the temporary restraining order, she put the baby dad's name on the temporary restraining order. So I went to the baby dad and I told her that she's 4 months pregnant and that she needs to be on bed rest. And I asked if he could help. And so my ex told me after the abortion that if I wouldn't have gone to the baby dad, that she would have gotten back to me in a week. But the thing was, I didn't want to be waiting a week for her to be, doing whatever she's going to do. That's disrespectful. When I was texting her, she should have just responded, "Hey, I don't want to talk right now," or, "Hey, the baby's fine. I'll call you in a week." But her not responding to my text was not cool. And, she told me that she would have responded to me in a week, after, she was ghosting me, but she would have ghosted me for a week, but in a week she would have let me know what was going on. But regardless, I have stuff I have to do. I have to work on the quadrilateral. I discovered theory of everything. I don't have a week to be worried. "Oh, what's my ex doing? Is my baby okay? Is she going to get an abortion?" No, I wanted to know what was going on. So that's why I went to her principal, her daughter's school at that time to talk to the principal to let her know what was going on, that my ex needed to be on bed rest, that she wasn't responding to me, that she was taking care of her daughter and she couldn't take care of her daughter and be in bed rest at the same time. And I knew that because she had called out of work, and she went to and she was supposed to be staying on bed rest, but and she had canceled work. She told her boss she had a letter written from the doctor, but the whole day she was at Kids Empire taking care of her daughter. She was supposed to be on bed rest. So I was legitimately concerned, and I was legitimately concerned that she was gonna get an abortion. She ended up getting an abortion. But as I said, after the abortion, she was suicidal. And like I said, the first 3 months after the abortion, we would talk. And, she would mainly call me on Snapchat. And she would, when we would talk, she would tell me how she was suicidal and she wanted to kill herself. And she was really sad and she's very fragile. And, she wanted to jump off a cliff. And, she was, I don't remember if she said she was thinking of getting a gun, but I'm pretty sure she said that. But she wanted to kill herself. So I was very concerned. But then after 3 months of us talking, she came to my place a few times and we talked, and mainly we talked on Snapchat. But then after 3 months, she told me that, she said, "Ryan, you really hurt me. And I think it's best we don't talk anymore." But, the ironic thing was, like, I was trying to make her feel better by being like, I shouldn't have gone talk to your baby dad. It was my fault and stuff. But at the same time, it wasn't my fault. She should have been a mature adult. She should have told her baby dad that she was pregnant. She should have been communicating with me. She had to be on bed rest. She should, when I was texting her, "Hey, have you been on bed rest? How's everything going?" Instead of ghosting me like an immature person, she should have messaged me, "I'm doing okay. The baby's fine. I'm going to be on bed rest," all that stuff. But again, you know, she was ghosting me. And then, so that's why I had to go talk to her daughter's principal, you know? So, but anyway, so then, as I said, she ended up getting an abortion, and 3 months later, she stopped talking to me. She messaged me and she said, Ryan, you know, you really hurt me. I think it's best we don't talk to each other anymore. And she said, if I ever want to talk to you again, I'll call you. So, but then, like I said, I was very concerned she was going to kill herself, because the last time I talked to her, she was crying. Even that time she was crying. And she was saying that she wanted to kill herself and all that stuff. So I was very concerned she was going to kill herself. So as I said, I would drive to her apartment every morning to see if her car was there, and I would drive there every night to see if she came back. And then, like I said, one time her car didn't leave in the morning, and I thought that she had killed herself. You know, I was afraid she might have killed herself. So I went and I knocked on the door and asked her how she was doing. And then that happened again, and I just told her, you know, can you please start text messaging me? You know, like maybe once a month, just send a message, and I don't even have to respond, just saying I'm okay. And I won't even respond. That's all I want, just so I know you're alive. And like I said, the reason why I wanted that was because I was wasting gas money, because I was so afraid she was going to kill herself. And I, you know, and it's not that I was crazy. She told me she wanted to kill herself. So I was so afraid about it, because in my mind I was like, if she kills herself, it's going to ruin my life. So I was driving to her place to make sure she was okay. You know, make sure that she was moving her car. So then, like I said, later that month, I went there and I asked her if she was okay, and because she didn't move her car, and like I said, she texted my mom. She told me, Ryan's harassing me. And the thing was, yeah, and I was sending her text messages, a lot of text messages, because I was just saying, because I wanted to make sure she was okay. So I would just tell her, hey, I'm sorry, sweetie, I'm sorry everything that happened. I hope that you're okay. Please stay strong. Please never kill yourself. And I did want her to stop, you know, ghosting me, and to talk to me, and to let me know that things are okay, that she's okay. You know, and I didn't, but, you know, so she texted my mom, he's harassing me. So then my mom calls me, Ryan, if someone doesn't want anything to do with you, you have to accept that. Again, relating to my mom and dad, because my mom tells me about that about my dad. He's never going to talk to you. You have to accept that. And it stems from the shooting machine when I was the best shooter in the country. My dad messed up my shot. And then my grandpa comes in, Ryan, you just have to, you know, because I needed help from my dad. My dad was like, I give up. I can't help you anymore. And I was like, you know, he's the one who messed up my shot, but he didn't know he messed up my shot. And I'm like, Dad, I need your help. And my grandpa's like, you just have to accept it, Ryan. You just have to accept it. And Mom's like, yeah, you have to accept it. You know, so rather than being like, you know, rather than trying to help me and be like, hey, Paul, let's try to be nice to Ryan. Let's try to figure things out. You know, maybe don't make it so capricious, and maybe like Ryan saying once a week you could shoot with them or something. Instead of doing that, my grandpa's like, Ryan, you just have to accept. You know, so my grandpa didn't help. You know, he could have helped by trying to make things easier for me, better, but you know, my grandpa, like I said, I feel like he was an associate or an accomplice to abuse that was done to me. And so, and again, my ex is thinking, you know, my mom and dad won't talk to me. She still thinks I'm probably crazy, you know? So, so then, like I said, later during that month, or you know, this is probably like 5 months after the abortion, you know, I go to her place again, because someone left the gate open, and I was going to visit my friend, and someone left the gate open. So I went to talk to her, and I was telling her, sweetie, please, I'm not doing well mentally, because I am very scared about your well-being. You know, last time we talked, you're suicidal. Can you please just text me every once in a while, maybe once a month, once every 2 months, just to tell me that you're okay, because she didn't know that I was driving by her place to make sure that her car was moving, because I wanted to make sure that she was not going to kill herself, that she didn't kill herself. And I was wasting gas. So I just wanted her to, you know, and I didn't want to be totally kicked out of her life. I want her to just maybe text me just to say, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. And I told her, I won't even respond. Just let me know you're doing okay, to give me some peace of mind. I just want a little bit of peace of mind. Because in my mind, I was thinking, if she kills herself, that will destroy my life, because I will feel guilty. I'll feel bad. I won't be able to move on, because, and like I said, I really liked her, you know, and at first I loved her. So, you know, and I probably still did love her, but like I said, she ended up saving me. So I'll describe how she saved me. So, you know, so, but like I said, then she, went to a pool party with her friend Sylvie, who's a Jewish girl, and Sylvie was a drug addict. And I saw that she was with those people who I knew, who are all drug addicts, and they're part of the hippie Satanist group. They just do drugs and do polyamory and stuff. And I didn't want my I didn't want my ex to be with those people. So I drove to her work. And like I said, I didn't care about the money at all. The only reason why I would say, give me $1,000 was because I was afraid someone would call the police. And then if someone did call the police, I would tell the police, hey, she owes me $1,000. And then the police would understand, okay, oh, do you owe her $1,000? And I would say, yeah, she owes me $1,000 because, I spent $1,000 on her before the pregnancy and she had an abortion. And then the police would be like, okay, well, we understand what's going on. So I thought that would be the best thing to do, which was stupid. But that's what I thought. So I went in there and I said, you owe me $1,000. I'm going to get you fired. Because there was a bunch of people there and I wanted them to know, hey, I'm not just coming in here for no reason. She owes me $1,000. But that's not the reason why I went in there. I just went in there to try, because I wanted her to come out and I want to be like, sweetie. First I wanted to say, because I told her, please don't go to the parties with Sylvie because she's a drug addict. But I really didn't care about that. She could go to the parties. I was going to be that was fine. But really, I just wanted to tell her, can you please just not totally kick me out of your life? And can you just maybe text message me once a month? Or like, that's all I was saying. Just text message me once a month. Once every 2 months if necessary. Just to say I'm doing okay. Or even just text me a letter, like a letter J, just so I know that you're not dead. That's all I wanted to know. Because I was afraid she was going to kill herself. And like I said, after the abortion, she was saying, I'm going to kill myself. I don't want to live in this world. I just want to I want to go to with the baby. So I was really seriously afraid she was going to kill herself. So then like I said, I left because she told the janitor to have me leave. But then I went to her mom's place because, like I said, I'd never met her mom. I never met her sister. But I went to their place when my ex was pregnant because, like I said, she wasn't responding to me. She told me she needed to be on bed rest, and she wasn't responding to my text. And she said in order for the baby to live, she needed to be on bed rest. So I thought she was going to get an abortion. So I went to her mom's place to ask them to help with the situation, to maybe help take care of her daughter, so that my baby will survive, But then it turned out that her mom and her whole family was at the abortion. That's what her friend told me. Her friend told me that her mom and her whole family and her El Salvadorian baby dad was at the abortion, and that her El Salvadorian baby dad was the last person who my ex talked to before the abortion. So if he's an illegal immigrant, I'd like him to be deported. But like I said, I went to her mom's place because I just wanted to tell her, all I wanted to do was say, ex's mom, I'm not going to say her name, ex's mom, your daughter, last time I talked to her was suicidal. I'm suffering mentally because I've been very scared that she's going to kill herself and that will destroy my life. Can you please, maybe her sister, somebody in your family, just maybe once a month, once every 2 months. This is all I wanted to ask her. That's it. Just once a month, once every 2 months, just text me and just say, hey, my daughter is doing okay. She is fine. Just so I would have peace of mind. Because like I said, I was wasting gas because I would keep on checking on my ex's. I would drive by my ex's place to see if she moved her car because I was afraid she was going to kill herself. So I was hoping if her mom would just tell me, hey, or her mom or her sister or somebody. But again, I never got a chance to talk to her because I went to her place. I never had met. At that point, I still hadn't even seen her. I don't even know what they look like. So I went to her mom's place and I went to knock on the door and all I heard was from the window, get out of here, I'm going to call the police. So I left. And then I went to, and I called my friend Ajani, and I told my friend Ajani, I was like, hey, dude, can you please, because you're friends with Sylvie, who's a Jewish girl who's friends with my ex, because my ex has a Jewish stepdad. And that's why she's probably into drugs and polyamory and all that stuff, because she's a leftist, because and her stepdad's a Jewish psychologist, so he probably taught her a lot of leftist stuff. That yeah, Freud was, says that free sex is good, and drugs is good, and all that type of stuff. So, I called my friend Johnny. I told him, can you get me in touch with Sylvie so that, I can tell Sylvie what's going on so that she can maybe help me. So then he got me in touch with Sylvie. And so I tell Sylvie, I'm like, Sylvie, you're I'm not going to say her name. Your friend has been suicidal. And, so I was checking on her car every day to make sure she's okay. And then her friend was like, oh my God, you're stalking her? You're stalking her? I'm like, no, I'm not stalking her. I was just checking to see if she's alive because she told me she's suicidal and I was making sure that she is not going to kill herself. She's like, but then then I drove with her friend, and so I was talking to her, and then her friend and Johnny, Sylvie and Johnny were like, okay, they're like, we talked to my ex, and she said that in a month she'll talk to me, but you have to wait a month. And again, like, and her friend Sylvie is a bitch, dude. She's a Jewish girl, and she's just a complete bitch. And she was like trying to trivialize the abortion. Like, she's like, it's not really that big of a deal. Like, I forget what she said, and it just pissed me off. Like, she was just a bitch. Like, it's not, that stuff like that happens all the time. Like, abortion's not that big of a deal. Dude, she had an abortion at 5 months, and I was like, and so I went off on her. I was like, dude, how the fuck, you haven't experienced what I've experienced. I know that you're a fucking Satanist cunt, but listen, you haven't experienced what I didn't say cunt, but she's a Satanist bitch. You haven't experienced what I experienced. No, it's not a normal thing to get an abortion. It's not normal, you fucking Satanist. And it's not cool, and you don't know the fucking pain I've been through. So I'm trying to let her know that, you know, but she's like, it's not that big of a deal. I forget what she said. The way she said it was so fucking evil, but something like, you know, stuff like this happens all the time. It's not that big. Like what? Like almost like I was overreacting. But all I was saying was, so I was just telling her, all I want you to do is just get me in contact with my ex to get her to talk to me so that, and all I wanted was my ex to be able to maybe talk to me once a month, send a text message just to let me know that she was okay and she was not dead. Because like I said, the last time I talked to her, she said she was suicidal. That's all I really cared about. I really didn't want to get back with her. At that point, I didn't want to get back with her because at that point I was like, dude, she's going to parties with these Jewish hippie Satanists. She's probably doing drugs and sex. I don't want to be with this girl. She's going to get an STD. That's the last thing I want is to get an STD. I don't want to be with her anymore. All that I wanted was to make sure she was not going to kill herself because I thought to myself, if she kills herself, that will destroy my life. And a part of, like I said, a big reason I didn't want her hanging out with Sylvie is because I know that she told me that she had done, and I don't know if she told me, you know, she told me that she had done cocaine with Sylvie a week before meeting me and that she does drugs with Sylvie all the time. So I didn't want her hanging out with her because in my mind, I was like, dude, she already is suicidal. She might go to these parties with Sylvie and just do a bunch of drugs because she wants to kill herself and die because she does fentanyl cocaine. And in her mind, but it'll look like she just died of drugs, but it really would be suicide. So I didn't want her hanging out with Sylvie because I knew that Sylvie, all that Sylvie does is she's just an ugly, disgusting Satanist girl who's a bitch, who's into festivals, who's really nasty, and she's just a drug addict. And like I said, I told my ex this. I text messaged her before she had the abortion. I was like, Sylvie loves you because you're a white girl. She's a white Italian girl, but you're white, and Sylvie can probably play out her fantasies of you know, giving you a bunch of drugs, probably having you have sex with black guys, or you know, because I know Sylvie, they hang out, you know, a lot of the Jewish girls, they hang out with a lot of black guys, have sex. I was hanging out with those people. I know what they do. There's these black guys who are just like, the black guys have harems of girls. They do prostitution. They sell girls. It's basically prostitution. And these girls are thinking, hey, we're free. We're Jewish girls and we're rebelling against society and against religion. But no, the black guys just use them, sell them for drugs. And even my ex-boyfriend said that my ex sold herself for drugs before. They use these girls. They basically, it's prostitution. These guys are Satanists. They're sick people, and they just use these Jewish girls in harems, but the Jewish girls are thinking like, yeah, we're free. We're doing what Freud taught. So I'm like, and so basically Sylvie's fantasy is to degrade my white ex-girlfriend, to get her to, you know, be a part of orgies probably and drugs and stuff. And so I was like, I told her, do not hang out with Sylvie. Why are you friends with this? You don't need to be friends with these types of people. You're a white girl. You're not Jew. Because my ex thought she was Jewish because she's maybe Italian. She might think she's like Jewish or something. I was like, dude, you're not Jewish. You're not black. You're a white girl. And your friend Sylvie, and I'll later say that she's trying to use you to abuse you, to get you to do drugs and shit. And you know, like I said, my ex had the Jewish stepdad. She already had problems. So I tell her, like, you don't need to hang out with those people. Like, please don't hang out with those people. But like I said, so then at the end of it, but then Sylvie told me that she would, in a month, that she would get me to talk to my ex, that she would get my ex to talk to me. Okay. But then before I left, Sylvie was like, she was like, I don't know why she brought it up, but she was like, I'm a lesbian. And I was like, you're a lesbian? I was like, have you ever kissed my ex? And she was like, yeah, I kissed her before. And I was like, So then I felt like she was trying to get me jealous because she's a bitch. Sylvie's a bitch. So I was like, okay, so I'll continue.